My name is Cesar Lopez. I'm with the Texas Hospital Association. I am here this evening to respectfully testify against SB 207. I want to start off by thanking Senator Schwartner, his staff, all the stakeholders that have been involved in the discussion of these issues. THA, I believe, is one of those willing stakeholders that Dr. Schwartner referenced this morning that has been involved in these discussions, I think, from day one. We are thankful to continue any negotiations and discussions on this bill. We did send a letter to the members of this committee setting forth our concerns with the current version of the bill. I think you've heard a lot of that similar testimony this morning and this evening, so I don't want to repeat any of that. But I will highlight that our concerns, again, are with the amount of discovery that hospitals have been suggested to and we think will continue to be subjected to, especially when a hospital is not a party to the underlying personal injury case. That's a major concern for us. It really is something that we need to try to address when we deal with these issues of reasonableness. Again, we are more than happy and more than willing to continue to work on these issues. We stand by and are happy to continue those discussions. We did propose some potential options, potential solutions in our letter, again, for your consideration. But again, I just want to thank you all this evening and happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Lopez. Senator Zaffarani, you're recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Lopez, this bill would require hospitals to participate in litigations in which they are not a party. How would this impact hospitals' ability to allocate resources to providing high-quality care?
Thank you, Senator. And I would actually, as I just indicated, I would represent that is already occurring. We are already being forced to engage in discovery in lawsuits where the hospital is not a party to that personal injury case. We are being asked to produce contracts, confidential information that we would not normally produce in these situations. In response to those requests, we have to either decide whether we want to fight those discovery requests. You can imagine for a larger hospital system, that's going to be easier to do than for maybe a rural hospital, a smaller hospital that doesn't have the resources and in-house counsel or a budget really to go out and engage external counsel, as is usually the case. I can tell you, Senator, that I had a conversation probably a couple of years ago now with the CFO of a small hospital. I don't want to name any names, but they're very close to Laredo. Who basically indicated that she had spent weeks and thousands of dollars on external counsel to prepare for a deposition that was ultimately canceled at the last minute, which I think was probably gamesmanship amongst the attorney. But it took her time, it took money out of her budget. That is time that she should have been spending on issues at her small hospital, but that she was forced to move away from because of those requests. So it just affects the hospitals in that way.
Thank you. And related to that, would the legal costs associated with complying with this bill have a disproportionate impact on hospitals in certain communities?
Absolutely. Again, as I just indicated, you can imagine that for a larger hospital system, it'll be easier to respond to these discovery requests than it would be for a smaller hospital that doesn't have the time or the budget to do so.
Do you have information regarding what the impact would be on underfunded rural hospitals?
I don't have any specifics, but I'm happy to get those to your office if that would help. But again, I would represent that they would be proportionally affected. And I know that's a general statement, but I would represent that is the case.
Do you believe this bill would have a chilling effect on healthcare providers accepting patients whose injuries are subject to litigation?
So I think that on behalf of hospitals, that's a different response in that we, under EMTALA, are usually required to, or actually I should say will be required, to treat and screen patients when they're brought to us after an automobile accident. So we can't deny a patient in that case. So that we don't have the ability to deny patients in those cases. We have to accept them, we have to screen them, and if there's an emergency medical condition, we have to treat and stabilize that patient. The issue regarding payment is a separate issue, as we've heard a lot today, but again, we don't have the option of denying those patients when they appear at the hospital.
If this bill were to become law, would it impact access to health care?
Again, from the hospital perspective, we have a duty to accept those patients, so it's not necessarily an access issue, but it is an issue with hospitals obtaining a fair reimbursement for their services, and that's really all we're hoping to accomplish with this. All we're asking for is to be treated fairly, and have that reimbursement amount set at an appropriate, fair level to compensate hospitals for their services.
Did you say in your testimony that your association has taken a stand officially?
Yes, ma'am. We are at this moment opposed to the bill.
Was that unanimous?
Among our association?
Yes.
I believe so. I can't think of, off the top of my head, any member that was for the bill.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Senator. Any other questions, Senators? Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
The chair calls Dr. Jonathan Chin.